I did.
What was your first big Broadway show? Tell the audience.
Oh, I was in the big hit that ran forever called Urban Cowboy. None of you people saw it. Oh, one. All right, there we go. Two.
I saw it. And you saw the billboard with the shirt off. Remember that one? Okay, but what's crazy about that show is literally, and I forgot to even ask about this, literally on closing night. So literally, they got the closing notice, closing night, taking a bow, tell everybody the craziness that happened.
Yeah, it was our closing night. Well, we opened on Thursday. We had that dreaded meeting on Friday, and they said, well, kids, congrats, we're going to close tomorrow. So, you know, we come in Saturday, and Saturday afternoon was a dirge, you know, like a funeral. And then Saturday night, you know, we're all, you know, we had, well, I shouldn't tell that story. Anyway, we blew the roof off, you know, and this and that, and it was a great celebration. And then we were going to end the curtain call by, like, singing some of the songs that were cut from the show. And looking at the results of the show, maybe we should have cut a few more songs, but I don't know. Anyway, Lonnie came on stage, and instead of doing that, Lonnie Price, we love Lonnie Price. Yeah, Charlie Krankus. Yeah. So he came on stage and he said, well, you know, hey, audience, thanks so much for having us. We're going to sing some cut songs from the show for you tonight, but we're not because we're not closing. And we literally found out there on the stage with the audience, with a sold-out crowd. You know, that's a way to get a sold-out crowd. Just say you're closing.
Exactly.
Although that only works once, maybe twice. I don't know. Mormon does it every night. Every night, Mormon's closing. Like, this turkey's done.
How long did you extend? So you didn't close, and you extended for what?
And then we ran, it was like 3 months, until the Tony nominations came out, until you were in first grade, or first period, checking on your iPhone, like, oh, Urban Cowboy's closing. And call back to my character.
All right, so I decided to do a little fantasy for Justin Goldblatt, because I'm sure Justin Goldblatt, the character, went to go see West Side Story, starring Matt, and I'm sure he looks so much like Chuck, the football player. I'm sure that this is what Chuck hoped was happening. So this is Justin Goldblatt's fantasy. Okay, here we go.
Love it.
The lights dimmed.
The most beautiful sound I ever heard. Justin Goldblatt. Justin Goldblatt, Justin Goldblatt, Justin Goldblatt. All the beautiful sounds of the world in 2 separate words. Justin Goldblatt, Justin Goldblatt, Justin Goldblatt, Justin Goldblatt, Justin Goldblatt, Justin Goldblatt, Justin.
Cut. Okay. So now we're in chapter. The last chapter we're going to read.
Goldblatt's very rhymable. Goldblatt. He's kind of fat.
So Becky, why don't you come up, right? And then Dad at the end. Okay. So this is chapter 3. So in chapter 2, Justin's in French class, and he decides the only way to get close to Chuck, because Chuck gets detention, is he decides to get detention himself. And they're doing this crazy rap thing, and the point is Justin gets busted rapping out loud. You'll read the story. And he gets put in detention, but there's a little rap reference. So now they're in detention. It's his plan to finally get Chuck. Okay, here we go. I arrived in detention 1 minute before the bell rang. There's a 15-minute free period before all after-school activities begin, and I spent it in the bathroom. Not because of an upset stomach, but because I just got some toothpaste with whitener, and I realized I didn't have time to wait for the results of brushing 3 times a day for a month. This was an emergency. I needed blindingly white teeth to impress Chuck by 3:15, so I spent the full 10 minutes brushing my chompers. Unfortunately, any white that might have been added to my teeth was overshadowed by the red of my bleeding gums. I don't normally have the gums of a 7-year-old smoker, but I think the vigorous stroking of my newly bought firm toothbrush caused some capillary damage. I thankfully remembered learning in earth science that cold makes things contract, so I swished some cold water in my mouth frantically for the last 2 minutes, and my gums called a truce. I ran into the detention room, which during the day is a computer room, and saw that the teacher du jour was ER. ER is actually Ms. Horvath, the head of the English department, and the biggest hypochondriac east of the Mississippi. Spencer and I nicknamed her ER because she always seems on the verge of being sent to the emergency room. And I guess we came up with that nickname before his obsession with karma. Although she always acts put out by her weekly phantom maladies, she obviously enjoys each one because her normally depressed personality seems to come alive only when talking about them. I'm used to seeing her with her arm in a sling, gesticulating wildly to some fellow teacher and grimacing about her bum fibula, or scurrying to her acupuncture session, while loudly proclaiming to random passerby, those hateful needles are simply not helping my colon do its job regularly. I dreaded what today's physical duress would be. As soon as I walked in, she waved me frantically over to her desk. I approached warily, and she promptly handed me a pre-printed 5x7 card from a stack she had next to her. I read it quickly. I have lost my voice. My doctor thinks it will return if I'm on complete vocal rest. Also, my sciatica is flaring up, so I'm not able to leave this chair without extreme pain to my lower back. I nodded sympathetically and muttered, sorry. She started to say thank you, but all I heard was a raspy version of the word thank that was quickly cut off by a dramatic coughing fit, interrupted only by her looking up to see if I was taking in her star turn. She finished with a noisy spit into a tissue and then quickly wrote something on her pad, which she handed to me. It hurts! I didn't know if she meant her voice or the sciatica, but found no need to ask, since she was one step ahead of me and answered my unasked question by jabbing her fingers simultaneously at her throat and lower back. Thankfully, the bell rang and I told her to feel better and turned around to zero in on my prey. Score. Chuck was sitting in the back of the room, and even though Becky was across from him, the seat behind him was blissfully empty. I sat down and stared at Chuck, who was at the computer directly in front of me, and Becky was next to him. I looked at her objectively. Wow, she was so crazily pretty. Long neck. Lips she only used chapstick on because they were naturally the color of an expensive lipstick. Reddish gold hair that literally glowed, and a nose all the girls wanted to copy when they got their first nose job. Chuck and Becky were the golden, by the way, my whole high school, everybody got nose jobs. Chuck and Becky, Long Island. Chuck and Becky were the golden couple of our high school until they broke up. The student body still hasn't fully recovered from it. Chuck transferred here from Colorado last year, and as soon as they met, they became a steady couple. No matter what time of day, you could always see them making out in all areas of the school. Hallway, lunchroom, classroom, football field, and once, awkwardly, the boys' locker room. Chuck had smuggled her in there on a dare. I say awkwardly because it was the one day I decided to take a shower after gym, and I walked dripping wet out of the shower and into the locker room wrapped in one of those skimpy school supply towels, only to find myself suddenly next to the making out couple as they were being videotaped for posterity by Doug Gould. That's right, videotape. As of today, there have been over 1,000 YouTube views of them deeply kissing next to a row of gym lockers, and then me stumbling up to them with a wet Jufro and severe love handles. Anyway, their breakup last June sent shockwaves throughout the entire freshman class, and it wasn't hard to figure out that Becky's dad caused all of it. From my signature eavesdropping on various conversations around school and the mall, I found out that he didn't like Chuck from the start. Becky had told him it wasn't a serious relationship, but once he saw the makeout video on YouTube, he made Becky end the affair stat. By first period the next day, everyone knew. Chuck and Becky were the power couple of the school, and suddenly it was over. Even the teachers seemed to go through a period of mourning. I suspect the reason he insisted they break up was because Becky is a super smart chick, and her parents have been grooming her for Columbia Medical School, their alma mater, since she was in kindergarten. Instead of going to Jewish summer date camp like I did in elementary school, Becky was enrolled in biology camp. Lab in the morning, flashcards at noon, and then one period in the afternoon for swimming or dissection. Dating in shock was not what her dad envisioned for her. Poor Becky. It's pretty obvious she doesn't want to go into medicine. My dad is a doctor like her dad, but he's never pushed me to follow in his footsteps. He knows I want to be on Broadway one day. Regardless, Becky's father did not approve of his daughter making out with some studly quarterback who maintained a B-plus average and who was probably going to go to college on a sports scholarship. His daughter was marrying a doctor, and that was that.